work. Okay, so she says that she's transmitting. I'm curious if YouTube knows. I think it might. Okay, seems that YouTube does know. Thanks very much, folks, for that minor interruption to our programming. So we discussed the SID. Engine failure, we're going to keep the speed back, identify, make a right turn, come back to the Tashkent VOR. I'm just going to go ahead and see if there's a hold available at the VOR itself. Can't find one. Maybe Airwit is somewhere that we could go. Airwit at 4,000 above. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put that on my progress page. Actually, no, that doesn't work, does it? It is a way that you could... It's called fix info. I know I've seen it before. I just can't seem to find it again. If anybody knows where to find fix info, oh, there it is. And the fix that we're going to set up our oldest Airwit. There we go. And that's the one we're interested in case things go south. We're going to go to Airwit and we are going to hold at position Airwit. Very nice. Mostly done, just waiting for the performance. I'm going to go ahead and start the APU at this time. There we go, APU is coming up. We're not doing checklists because I don't have a copy of them and I don't know who reads what. I do know people who do fly Airbuses and they have assured me that they will teach me soon. So until that time, we're not going to actually do any checklists. Sure, I can print a copy of the internet, but I'm just going here today based on pure vibes and luck. Just going to take a quick look at FlightSim. Doesn't seem like there's anybody around. Don't think there will be. It's again quite a lonely corner of the world, so I do believe we'll be on our own for most of it. Let's go ahead and set up the performance now for the departure. Well, we need to know exactly how long this runway is to be able to do that. So calm, nah, not exactly. We're going to do flex. The anti-ice can remain off. Temperature's fine. Optimum and AC can need it on or off. On. You know, if we can do with it on, why not? Clear and dry was what the wind said. Excuse me, folks. Got some messages from my manager. Alright, so we're just about to expedite the departure a little bit because things are happening IRL that we need to deal with. So the wind is 260 at 2. Let's go out there and set this up for 260 at 2. All of that's good. We are departing runway. Why does she not know the runway? Maybe if I put it as UZTT, maybe that would... Nope. There we go. So she knows UZTT. That's just a recent change of the runway. We are not going full length. So I would like to make a change to Torah. Fine, let's see if we can calculate it. I can't, so I'd like to add maybe oh! Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how I can actually add the displace threshold, remove it, because right now it's planning us to do the full 4,000. So in order to save time, I'm just going to go ahead and do the full 4,000 so we can do a quick spin and turn. I'm happy with this performance. Flex 54, la-di-da-di-da, Macto, she knows everything. So we're going to go ahead and set that up. Let's see if the double click works here. It does. Perfect. Performance, I would like to get the uplink takeoff data. Very nice. Takeoff data has been uplinked. And I think we are about ready to go. 8,000 set there for the departure. You, my friend, can go up on the flight page as well. And let's just start getting rid of all my externals. So let's disconnect the external power. The APU is available. can let go of new. We can disconnect the ground air conditioning. Let's verify the parking brakes are in fact set. Let's see if that actually, yeah, let's go ahead and set the parking brakes again. That's set, and we can now disconnect ground shocks, and we can send these guys out on their way. How do I get the GSX menu here? Oops, not you. Okay, I understand. Remote control active. Oh gosh, I really need to work on these airplanes a little bit more before I stop preaching about them. I believe the connections are down here. GSX, yeah, perfect.
The boarding passengers bus is coming.
No, I don't want them. No. No. Maybe there's a way I can restart GSX. Yeah, I think that's better. Let me just restart. Oh no. I'm already bolted. Oh, looks like they're gone. Good. So let's close the doors and get out of here before GSX comes back. Sometimes I am my own worst enemy. Let's go to doors. Let's close this door. Are the other doors closed? Have to close. So those doors are being closed. They'll be armed shortly. We are about ready to go. It's going to be a standard taxi out here. Just straight out. There's nothing much to consider. The APU bleeds can go on, and let's get this started. Beacon lights are on, all the pumps are on, APU bleeds are on, and I think, ladies and gents, we are ready to commence our flight. Starting number 1 engine today, and I like to keep this started so we have an idea on the elapsed time. Oh, if that's showing up, number 1 engine, let's light her up. I'd also like to take a look at how she looks outside just to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I have. I've forgotten the chocks. What I'm hoping is that someone realizes from the outside and they say, oh my god, Captain, we've forgotten the chocks, and they've just quickly run out and gotten it before disaster strikes, let's say. Very nice. So we have that sorted out. Watching the engine start up, quite nice. Good startup sounds here also by FlightSimLabs. Personally think they've made a pretty good product. I don't fly it all that often because I've been struggling a little bit with the MCDU.
Attention while we take you through the safety procedures on this aircraft. A safety card is in your seat pocket showing the exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets and brace position that you must adopt if you hear brace, brace. There are 2 emergency exits at
Nothing
the rear,
quite like a...
You need to stop the engines to request ground services.
Yep, that's precisely it. I do not need ground services
Please
this
be
time.
aware that your nearest exit may be behind you. In an emergency, leave all cabin baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened.
Okay, so that's a successful start of number 1 engine. Let's go ahead and start number 2.
When the seatbelt signs are on, and we recommend that you keep it fastened.
Let's see how long these starts take. I'll just go ahead and start the timer so you can see.
Fails, masks will drop from above you.
So the N2 here is the inner spool inside the engine. So that's where the bleed air essentially comes in and causes the inside of the engine to spin. As the inside of the engine spins, it takes air to the outside of the engine, like the back, and when the spool at the back spins, it turns the fan in the front, which is what you're seeing here at 2.5-ish%. Around 25% N2, the fuel will be sent in to ignite, which then causes the little explosions that cause the fan to start spinning. It's quite technical quite technical and also quite easy. It's just a flow of air. It's kind of like a piston engine, but on a consistent flow. You can see that the fuel has not been injected yet. That's a feature of the LEAP engines. Because they have so much on the central shaft, what happens is the shaft essentially kind of bends. For if it's been left alone for a long time or if it's too hot. So what the aircraft does is it essentially just keeps spinning the engine until the shaft with centrifugal force sort of straightens out, and once it's straight enough it'll inject the fuel, which it's done here now, and you have the light off. Criteria we're looking for numbers essentially. In my head it's 246. Here it's 1856. I mean, it's close enough, so that's generally how you know it's stable. And of course, if you see 10, 7, and 2, that's something kind of off with the balance of the engine, and just very rough numbers for us to see if it's working as we intended it to. Very nice. So we have 2 good engine starts. We're going to finish up with the start sequence. We no longer require the APU bleed. We no longer require the APU. Let's arm the auto brakes for the unlikely event of an rejected takeoff. Speed brakes are armed. Departure flaps today are flaps 1, that's set. And I want to make sure we have set up 0.5 units for our trim. Predictive wind shear is off. Yeah, it's going to remain off until actually I don't know how it actually works here on this plane, so you know what, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. There we go, PWS is on, and sorry to the ground stuff, but the weather radar is on as well. All of that's good. Let's make sure this is on auto. We'll squawk 2000. And just before we go out real quick, I'm going to go ahead and do a flight control check. These are things that I'm doing based on a 737. Just the flow of things in general on most jet airliners tend to be similar. Please refer to your aircraft operating manual for actual procedures. 0.5. 0.5. Okay, everything's good. I'm just going to do a takeoff config check. Takeoff config is normal, and it's clear right, clear left, and I'll advise. Tashkent traffic, Connaught Shark 715. Airbus A321, taxiing to runway 08 left via Bravo. Tashkent traffic. Brakes are released. Here we go. So while we taxi, I can tell you a little bit about the... See, my tiller is far away. Let's just verify it works. Parking brakes are off. I think she is not very willing to get going. Okay, so we have our first problem of the day. My tiller doesn't seem to be very pleased in controlling this airplane. That should give it the... There we go. So she started to work now. Good, so clear left, clear right, taxi lights can go on now. We'll also go ahead with the runway turn-off lights. IRL, this airport is quite dark all the time, except for that little gate there. That's always very brightly lit for whatever reason. If you're just joining the stream, we are flying Connaught Shark 715. Connaught Shark is a Uzbek airline, started about 27 years ago. 2012 I think it was, they went bust and they had restarted. They were one of those few airlines after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. They took on assets from the Uzbek arm of Aeroflot, and these guys have now continued to survive. From Air Lease they released I think 6 airplanes, including a bunch of 321neos, 320s, maybe even regular 320neos, I'm not sure. Quite a few of the Airbus family is what they fly. And they're doing quite well. You see them in strange destinations. Obviously you see them in destinations that are connected with the former Soviet Union. So you see them in Tashkent, Almaty, all those places. And then you end up seeing them taking Uzbek holidaymakers places like Goa, Phuket, just random. But if you do end up flying somewhere around this area of the world IRL, you will see or hear their call sign Connaught Shark, or sometimes you just call themselves Shark. And any airline that's got the word Shark on their name is alright with me. So Shark 715, we're now taxiing to runway 08 left departure. We'll do a backtrack because I didn't have the time to do the performance calculations for the runway shortening. Or better yet, I couldn't figure out how. So if anybody knows how to do the runway shortening here, maybe there's a way for me to adjust something or actually enter physical numbers. That'd be great, but I can't. So this is runway 08 left, and I'm just going to go ahead and advise on FlightSim that we're now lining up. Tashkent traffic, Connaught Shark 715 Airbus 321, lining up runway 08 left, Tashkent. Alright, that's advised. Let's just give it a little bit of squeeze. It's quite heavy. At the moment, let's see, 82.9. Gross weight, we are well above the maximum landing weight, which is 77.8. Quite a heavy airplane, honestly, this 321, and a very impressive one at that. 1025, lining up. Let's get the strobes on, and since it's a lineup for departure, let's also get the tar on. Pretty certain there's nobody else. This is not a very popular area of the world to fly. 1840 was our scheduled departure time. Of course, we are a little bit late now. Oof, that's a lot of power, and she's still quite slow on the taxi. I don't want to quite push it past 40, but I think that's just what you might need now. Brakes are in fact released. I'm not even riding the brakes, but she's just struggling to build momentum. Just gives you an idea of how heavy it is. This scenery, just got it today. It's by Central Asia Sim, I think it was, or Middle Asia developers, something like this. I'm just going to go ahead and check, and I will let you know exactly what that is. And they've done a pretty decent rendition of Tashkent. This uphill is quite correct, and I can tell you in a very heavy airplane, you need to manage the energy well. So if you end up getting stopped at the stop bar and then told to continue, it can be difficult to get the aircraft to roll. You see here I'm doing 16 knots, and I'll soon have to turn to make that, I'll soon have to slow down to make that U-turn there. But we're not going to go ahead and do that because it's going to lose momentum shortly. So watch this now. Chop the thrust at 18 knots. We're going to go. See that? Losing momentum pretty quickly. And they're in a flattened end here. Pretty good scenery. I mean, especially if they have managed to get the slope correct. It's a go on my book. If you all remember from the departure brief, we had a section where the maximum speed was 200. We can see the minimum clean speed here is 234, slats 212. So it looks like we're going to have the flaps and slats out for most of our departure until we're finished with the downward. Let's take this on the roll. Tashkent traffic, Connaught Shark 715, departing runway 08 left, Tashkent. Alright, I think we are ready to go. Let's pull this baby up to 50% or 40, I don't really know how it is on a 321. It's up there at 50 now, and we are 3, 2, 1. Land flex 54, SRS runway, auto thrust. Alright, here starts our 4-hour journey for Moscow Domodedovo. 78.7% N1, N2 is working at about 90 something, which is past 120 knots now. 13.2 tons, fuel flow is about 3 tons per engine per hour at this power setting. So we're getting to P1 here, P1, and we rotate. Gotta watch the tail, there's a 321, nice gentle rotation, leaps off into the air, quite happy there. Rotation's completed, got a positive rate. Landing gear up. Thrust climb, SRS and F. There we go. Guess I forgot to push that. Thrust climb, climb and nav. And it's limiting itself to 200. Which is what we wanted. Anti-ice right window. Cool feature about the FlightSimLabs So we actually had that as an MEL, so it's nice that you come up again, so it's going to let us know that we're going to limit our airspeed to 250 knots below 2,000 feet.
In just a few moments, we'll commence our
Folks, you join me here for just the departure part of our flight. Obviously, once we finish the turn, I am going to disconnect because there's not really much to talk about in cruise. And I guess before 2 hours or so before our arrival, we'll come back and we'll continue our chat about the system and stuff, the 321. I see the flight directors are commanding me nose down a little bit, but with this thrust, I believe that's going to have me accelerating, which is not quite what I want to do. Okay, 6.5, go about 1,500 foot per minute, 1,500 foot to level off. At this point, I think it will probably clear us to a higher level. 250 sounds reasonable. You see that? I don't really want that. I want to maintain 200 knots. So we're going to go ahead, open climb, and 200 knots there. She should, flight director should now respect what I want to do. There you go. That seems about it. 10% nose up. Sorry, 10 degrees nose up. Passing 8,000 feet now. You can see here a whole wall of stone. Flight Sim distorts the information a little bit, or distorts the real world a little bit. But if you see this during the daytime, it is quite imposing. I believe it's either down that way or down this way. You enter the Fergana Valley, which is a fertile piece of land there. But again, quite tricky to fly over or fly through in terms of considerations with terrain. Not too concerned about going below 200 knots because the SID specifically said max 200. So we're going to go ahead and try to do this. This is a threat we can discuss. You see there. This does happen IRL, but once you get to above 10,000 feet, usually they just turn you off to your to the fire boundary. Again, not really busy in the real world either, so they usually turn you off there. So I'm gonna emulate that a little bit. I'm gonna emulate that we're gonna get a free climb shortly, but it is to our advantage to have the speed at the moment. It's not to our advantage to have the flaps, but for the first two turns we might as well focus on getting our climb sorted out, as opposed to needing to... Oh cool, in-up system right window heated, says so there at the bottom. Nice, so you don't forget. If you fly a Boeing 737, you'll need to write that down on a scratch pad or on a piece of paper somewhere, and hopefully you look at that piece of paper before you start your descent. This is how we do it. Okay, quite bright. Alright, we're here at Papa Tango, Tango Tango 118. We need to be about 4,500 feet. Maximum 200 knots, we're complying with that. Still hand flying. When you don't have to trim it, it's quite easy. Oh. Okay, I think that was a safety violation there with the doors open, but that's alright. Once in a while, it's nice to let the passengers know that there's a real human up front flying the aircraft. Alternatively, it could be that someone's forgotten to close the flight deck access switch, and during a very violent departure, the door just swings open. I think we can stick with that theory. I think that's a better way to do it. So this is our turn now. We're turning on to essentially a downwind. True transition altitudes, so let's go ahead and set standard everywhere. Standard is set, and we're reading flight level 130 now. Up everywhere, 130. This usually lags IRL by about 200-300 feet, but still good enough for VSM operations. I think it's 200 feet. There we go, ladies and gents. On the downwind, we're going to close the speed window. She'd like to accelerate to 324 knots. I'd like to accelerate to 324 knots. And let's get the flaps out the way. Flaps can go up. I'm just now realizing that I forgot to turn on the landing lights. You can go on. Those two can go off. There's a standard mistake I tend to make with the 321 family or 320 family. Just gonna limit how sensitive I am with that. So we're above the green dot speed, and here we go. I think I'd like to climb at this angle because that gives me. Actually, that doesn't do much advantage to me. Hey? Let's go back to what the flight directors actually want me to fly. We're going to exit at 324 knots, climb to 250. Autopilot. Okay, good. Autopilot 1. And we got thrust climb, nav to altitude. Oh, we're over 10,000 anyway, so those can go off as well. We can let the passengers go. And we wish you all a pleasant flight. Ground spoilers no longer armed. RTO, and we do the off takeoff checklist. Engine please on, packs auto, landing gear up. Off front and no lights. That's the 737 off takeoff checklist, but the idea works, yeah. You want air conditioning so that we can breathe and we don't die. Landing gear needs to be up so that we have enough fuel to get there. There's not a lot of noise. It's more of it. Flaps up, no lights. Same thought. You know, like you don't want to have your flaps out during flight. Why would you? Which is funny because a few years ago there was an incident, I believe, in India where an aircraft ended up using too much fuel in flight and they had to divert because they could no longer make their destination. Turns out they forgot to take the gear up and no one quite realized during the whole flight. I'm going to link that to you. If you know where that is, you know which airline that was, let me know. Maybe we could emulate it. That's Kanat Shark 321 representing Uzbekistan as the city of Tashkent. And yeah, I think that's behind us, this road on the way there, that's the Fergana Valley. We are expecting to have pretty good weather throughout the flight. Shortly before arrival into Moscow, we're going to reassess the weather. So we might have to do a little bit of cold weather operations, cold weather temperature corrections. Don't really know how that's done on a 321, so we're going to try our best to sort of figure it out as we go along. So at position Wikwi, we are entering the Kazakh FIR, at which point we would be, as in Wikwi, I think we're even entering earlier. Stand by. Yeah, position Wikwi, we're entering the Kazakh FIR, so technically around here we'd be contacting the area control for Kazakhstan, requesting permission to entry. Permission for entry, but usually these airports, these Central Asian countries have good availability of communicating with each other. 08 left where we departed, you can see it off there. That's the runway we're rolling off, and 08 right for arrival. You can see the difference here. 08 left's got centerline lighting, 08 right not, which is quite interesting, because if you take a look, if you look at the AFC charts, you'll see that 08 left is capable of Cat 2, and I believe centerline lighting is one of the requirements for our Cat 2 ILS, whereas 08 right is Category 1 only. I think it might be one of the requirements, or I might be lying to you, I'm not entirely sure in terms of this. Position Wikwi, 2 miles, passing flight level 170. Decent amount of time to go until we get to Moscow. I haven't set up the arrival there in Moscow yet. Let's look down this very quickly and we'll see what time we get there. If I click airport, I think that should do it here. Top of descent approximately 17:18, so about 3 hours from now. And an hour before that, it's 16:18, let's call it 1600 UTC time. We can come back and we'll start talking about the arrival process into Moscow, consideration, threats and all that sort of stuff. Reason we're going to Moscow is for the air traffic control. I think he should still be available at 17. Yeah, he should be available, and they're doing an exam, so we're going to go there and cause chaos and make sure he's just up to standard. Pretty sure he is, but it's going to be fun. Alright folks, thanks for joining me on the short departure stream as I rant, and we do hope you have had a good look at the Airbus A321NEO, and you'll rejoin me as we start our arrival into Moscow. Thanks very much, and we'll see you soon.